This is Jake the Snake Roberts, you know, that Hall of Famer. And you're listening to the sports guys talking wrestling or any damn thing else they want to.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, not on the horn this week because of Texas baseball. They got back on their winning ways, and I think I saw earlier they are winning right now. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. What's up, Justin?
The Dallas Mavericks over the Nuggets at the moment, just
True.
Because it's like a day prior than when we usually release.
That's right. Yeah. So because we are not on the horn airwaves, we are actually recording on Wednesday, and we get to do what we used to do, which is watch wrestling while we're recording. So we've got AEW Dynamite on the screen right now. In fact, it's the Death Triangle. Pentagon Jr., Ray Phoenix, Pac taking on Private Party and Joey Janela. Pentagon with the what's that Spider-Man? It's not Spider-Man, but the black one. What do they call it? What's the villain?
Oh, you mean Venom?
Venom, yeah. So he's got half of his mask is fashioned after Venom.
What's the other half? I can't see it.
It's just it's the normal Pentagon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but interesting. So Elimination Chamber was Sunday. You came over, watched some of it with me. We did the live stream. Thanks to everybody that checked it out on YouTube, including some international friends from Germany and Liverpool. So shout out to them. It was really cool.
Were they bored too?
I'm sorry?
I said, were they bored also?
I think they may have been. It wasn't as bad as we expected. I mean, I had really low expectations for this.
Well, I mean, it's easier to go into everything when you have
right.
None to low expectations.
So it wasn't bad. It wasn't, obviously it's not the most memorable pay-per-view. The Daniel Bryan Drew Gulak match was really good. That was probably match of the night.
It was a match. It was a front-loaded card.
It was. It really was. You had that one. Andrade and Humberto Carrillo was really good.
Yeah. All of our Latin superstars on Raw, including Angel Garza, who I think is going to be just like the next big thing. All of a sudden, too. Like those guys have just been on a tear.
And to think we used to just watch him again. We talk about you go to independent wrestling shows, you may be seeing superstars. We used to see him at Wrestle Circus and some of the other promotions around Texas as Garza Jr.
Yeah.
And now just blowing up. So, and then it kind of went downhill from there. The only title change, which floored me, Sami Zayn is now your new Intercontinental Champion.
See, you can't say that they don't do things that are unpredictable.
That's true. That's very true. I would suspect they're going to build it to Zayn versus Strowman at WrestleMania, but then again, we don't know. Miz and Morrison did keep the tag titles. That one, I don't know. It felt a little out of sync. The action was fine.
Well, yeah.
But having Otis go through the pod, and you didn't build up anything between Otis and Dolph over Mandy. I don't know. It just felt like it was kind of like, okay.
I don't know about that. I felt that there was already enough to go on. Obviously, they've been.
Yeah, but they didn't carry it further.
Oh, it's still there. So it's still lingering.
I hope it is. Well, I mean, we'll see this Friday on SmackDown. Street Profits did keep the tag titles against Seth Rollins and Murphy. And then main event. How did you feel about the main event?
Oh, I mean, it was fine for what it was. It's just the pacing.
There's
too much pause. Especially when it's like, I think you even said it. It's like, we already know there's only one person left. Why don't they just open the door?
Well, and allegedly, there was going to be a SmackDown Elimination Chamber match where the winner would get a shot at the Universal Championship. But allegedly, if you listen to rumor innuendo from those like Dave Meltzer and such, because everybody expected it to be Roman Reigns, they said, "Oh, we're just going to give Roman Reigns a shot,"
which makes sense.
So, but you went ahead and did this match with the women. Winner gets the shot at the Raw Women's title, currently held by Becky Lynch. But you looked at the 6 women, and it was like, okay, there's no way Shayna Baszler loses this.
I don't know. I thought Asuka might have won. She's had a moment.
Yeah, but they've blown that feud off already.
No,
remember, because they belted up, and then they finally had the match.
It's wrestling. It doesn't matter.
Sure, it does.
No, it doesn't. Like they can pick that back up one day, all of a sudden, and you're supposed to pretend
one
like
day, sure, not 2 months later.
Yeah, 2 months is like an eternity in the new world,
and not when you're positioning Shayna Baszler the way you are.
She shouldn't be champion though. I don't think she's going to be champion. I don't think she wins.
Really?
Yeah, for real.
I think she does.
No way.
I think there's a strong possibility.
What?
Becky Lynch has had the title for a year.
Yeah, and Shayna Baszler is no more over than Becky Lynch is.
True. And it was funny that apparently fans were very split one way or the other. There were a lot of fans that didn't like the way Shayna Baszler went through the match. Didn't like the fact that she won. Which I'm going, okay, tell me how you would have booked it. Who you would have booked.
I already told you.
Outside of Asuka.
That's not
fair. Which
again,
you've already done that. You just did it. Like 2 months ago.
Yeah, but she hasn't won the title in a while. It's fine.
But you just blew the feud off 2 months ago. You're not going to... That's not... I get WWE will do whatever WWE wants, and they do it in spite of themselves, but even the most... no, it just...
All right, well then give it to Ruby Riott, who just came back then. And try to make her a major player.
No, because you were setting her up for a feud with her former Riot Squad teammates.
You can still do that and still have her win the title.
Not at WrestleMania. That's again, if you had been watching leading up to this, the only logical choice was Baszler.
No.
And I thought it was smart. Now what I would have done is either have her come in first and plow through everybody, or come in last and plow through and just, rapid fire, just have everybody tap out. But I have no problem with her having everybody tap out. Because it sets her up as a monster heel, sets her up as the dominant woman that she was in NXT.
No. We've already went over this. Her move is totally illegal. If you want to look at it in the context of professional wrestling and what you grew up watching,
but the referee
is it not illegal?
I don't know if the referee didn't think it was illegal.
The ref did a job.
Well, I don't want. I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna say you're gonna have to go back and cut that. Sorry, but yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what else you want me to tell you besides the fact that her finisher is illegal.
Well, but
it's not popping me, man. I'm just telling you, it just makes the referee look like a joke.
I get that, but apparently it pops somebody.
And I understand that they're trying
to go
for
NXT for almost 2 years.
It's just a different style fan, man. I'm telling you though, it's illegal. You can't choke somebody like that. Sleeper hold's not a chokehold. There's a difference, and it's like.
Well, but I think it's positioned as a sleeper.
No, it can't be because. I mean, how else are you cutting these people's oxygen off? You see it.
All I can say is
you saw it. We watched the match. She tapped. How many people went limp in her arms?
Everybody
4,
did.
5.
Well, everybody tapped out except for
nobody tapped out.
Yeah, everybody did.
Nobody tapped. Stu.
Sure, they did.
No, they didn't, Stu. You know, Stu. We sat here together and watched the match.
Asuka did not tap out. Asuka just passed out.
No, none of them did. All of them passed out. Remember, he did the whole arm thing multiple times.
I saw Sarah Logan do a rapid tap. I saw Liv Morgan do a rapid tap. Yeah. I saw Natalya rapid tap.
That's all illegal, though. They're all chokes. It's not sleeper holds. Come on.
Be that as it may. So we've gotten that out of the way. We are now officially on the road to WrestleMania. Maybe. And later on, we'll hear from Jon Alba from... I
don't understand, though, Stu. How can you go off on, like, the whole, like, this doesn't make any sense, but yet her finisher is a chokehold? Like, booking-wise, I feel like it's part of the same argument. It's like, well, if they're misbooking it, because it was like a poor match, then don't you feel that
No,
in the
I'm not
rules
saying-
within professional wrestling that she shouldn't be using a chokehold as a tap out finish?
Okay, let's see what you just said. The rules of professional wrestling. You do know the rules are made up as we go, right?
There's a well-established finite set amount of rules. This is not an AEW tag team match.
WWE writes its own rules. Yes, you're right. But WWE writes its own rules. They say it's not a chokehold, so there you go. And by the way, I was about to say we will hear from Jon Alba. He's a sports reporter for Spectrum News 13 in Tampa and Orlando, looking at the situation in Tampa and Orlando, especially regarding WrestleMania. Will there even be a WrestleMania? But we're going to continue on as if it is going to happen. Monday Night Raw had a few highlights. Let's start with Edge and Randy Orton.
I think that was like the only highlight.
Well, I like the fact Drew McIntyre's killed the spider, but you know.
Well, besides that, though, I thought it was a rather lackluster Raw.
It was a little, but what'd you make of Edge RKO using the RKO on Randy?
Oh, it's just perfect storytelling, but that's what I expect from two essentially Hall of Famers.
There are those that say that should be the main event. What say you? For WrestleMania, I should say.
We all know that. No, your championship has to be somewhere in the main event. Some championship has to be in the main event. It can't be some feud.
Yes, I agree.
It's a good feud to have on the card, though.
It is. It's one of those where you place that one in a prime position on the card.
It definitely has people's attention.
Right.
And that's all you can really ask for when there's no hardware on the line or there's no other stipulations, especially since they're trying to fast build this match. True.
Very true.
But they have the two performers that can do it.
What, now 3.5 weeks?
So we think.
I think.
For now.
So, AJ Styles invoking the Undertaker's wife in their rivalry.
Have we not seen this done before?
That was interesting.
No, we've seen this before.
With other feuds, yes. But it was interesting that they decided to go this direction with this feud.
I guess, like I said, we've already seen this before. I mean, Diamond Dallas Page, his ex-wife.
Yeah.
WWE did themselves no favors when they didn't include her on the list of influential divas.
That's true. Taker was pissed about that, too.
I think he has a right to be, but obviously, I'm not sure, is it one of those happy wife, happy lifestyle things, or do you have a legitimate beef? It's just one of those things. But either way, I think I understand.
I think there's a little bit of a legitimate beef
because I mean, she did hold the title 3 times.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a beef there.
LA Cool had a decent run.
They did. As I said, the other highlight for me was Drew McIntyre killing Eric Rowan's toy spider. That was
the tarantula,
smashing the cage with the steel steps in the process of crushing Eric Rowan. Good Lord, what are they? They've got had a multiple submission hold, the death triangle on Private Party and Janela, and now here come Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy still has beef with Pac, I'm sure, so that'd be interesting. Let's talk a couple other notes. So Mike Johnson, our friend from PW Insider, reporting that former Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski has signed with WWE. He will appear on SmackDown on March 20th as well as at WrestleMania. Your thoughts on Gronk becoming a WWE superstar?
I really don't care, but good for him.
Do you think this would be a move to pop a rating?
Well, of course.
Are they that desperate that they can only bring back legends so much? So this is another way. This is kind of like getting Ronda Rousey.
No, I don't think this is being desperate. Obviously, they just went to Saudi Arabia. They got plenty of money.
Well, it's not. I'm not worried about money. I'm just saying, the ratings are going down.
That's part of that. That's all part of the concern is money. It's always money. Ratings are based on money, and they're based on the economic factors of those advertisers that are going to spend money on your show because they expect to make more money because of their investment. And they do have new investors that they have to please, including Fox. So, yeah, they got to do what they think is going to be best for business.
Yeah.
And bringing Gronk in, while this isn't the first time that he's participated in WWE activities.
But now he's an actual signed performer.
Well, we don't even know what that entails.
The way Mike Johnson puts it, he is going to wrestle. He's going to be a wrestler.
Yeah, but is he going to be like Dennis Rodman? Is he going to be like Pac-Man Jones? Is he going to instead be more like Kevin Green? Or is he going to end up like Mondo McMichael? Or Mongo. Who ended up actually being a Four Horseman for a short amount of time.
Remember the Horseman? Former Longhorn.
Because, I mean, Gronk doesn't need the money. And his body's already messed up.
Gronk doesn't need the money.
He has that severe elbow injury.
True. He's likely bound for the Pro Football Hall of Fame when he becomes eligible. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if they'll put him on with.
But will it really? Like, that's my question to you. Will it really? Like, after the first time you see it, like, aren't you like? After the first time, is that?
I'm intrigued.
Like, you think he's going to be better than Kurt Angle? You think he's going to do better than Mark Henry?
Hold it. How is I'm interested? Me saying he's going to be better than Kurt Angle, and Mark Henry.
No, I'm asking you. Saying, I'm asking you. Does he have that capability?
Intrigued. I doubt it. You're talking 2 Hall of Famers, 2 multiple-time world champions.
Yeah.
One of which won an Olympic gold medal in wrestling.
Yeah.
You're not putting Gronk in the same class as Angle and Mark Henry.
Yes, you are. Athletically, are you not going to put them at the same caliber athlete? I mean, this is a guy who is a multiple
different athletes.
They're all different athletes, but they're all high caliber. This is an NFL All-Pro future Hall of Famer. You just said it yourself.
I get it. I said that.
So my expectations for somebody with that athletic ability is to be on that same level. However, professional. What do you mean? No.
I mean, are you saying they'll be on that level as a wrestler?
When you talk about professional wrestling, the one thing that doesn't always translate is like the gift of gab part and the timing and the psychology of it. I'm not sure if he'll get all that.
Right.
But when it comes to like in between the ropes and what he can do physically, then yeah, he should be on the same level as a Kurt Angle or as a Mark Henry who has that special breed of athlete that's one of a kind.
Okay, I'm just trying to process that. I mean, I will wait and see what he can do inside the ropes.
But aren't your expectations like super high? I mean, we saw Shelton Benjamin, the guy who never was.
Shelton Benjamin was a collegiate wrestler.
Yeah,
he knows what he's doing.
But also,
Rob Gronkowski, as far as I know, did not wrestle in college.
Stu, but
we're
talking about
professional football.
Yeah. He played professional football
at
a very high level. It's not like some guy who got cut.
We're talking about Green,
and we're not talking
who's
about
in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly, and we're not talking about some quarterback or wide receiver. We're talking about a legit tight end who's 6'6".
Kevin Green was a linebacker, was an All-Pro linebacker for the Steelers.
Yeah. I just said we're not talking about a wide receiver or quarterback here. We're talking about somebody that's used to having contact, just like Kevin Green, just like Mongo, just like William.
Right. I would never put. I mean, Kevin Green was an All-Pro and he is in the Hall of Fame. I'd never put him as a great wrestler.
Yes,
he was good. He was sufficient, but I'm not going to put him as a wrestler. I'm not going to put him in the same category as Kurt Angle.
No,
and I don't expect Rob Gronkowski. Now he may surprise me, but no, I don't have. I don't know what to expect out of Gronk.
No, I'm just saying. In between the ropes, when it comes to running, jumping, slamming people, without all the other stuff that goes into being a professional wrestler, what are your expectations of Rob Gronkowski?
If as an athlete, he'll be fine. How he picks up the business, we'll see. He can do the talk. We're pretty sure he can talk because we've seen it. You know, it'll be interesting.
I mean, is it going to be coherent?
Well, now that's a whole different story.
Like, you think he can read a script?
That's true.
No offense to his intelligence or anything, but I mean,
true.
Every time we've seen him, it's been unscripted. Can he follow a script?
I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, he'll show up March 20th at SmackDown, and then we will see him at WrestleMania assuming WrestleMania happens. We are getting the rules now for AEW Blood and Guts. It is fashioned pretty much like War Games. The match, so each, they'll have a match, I think, next week to determine who gets the advantage. 2 men start, 5-minute intervals. Each team gets a man in. And then when all 10 men enter, that's when the match beyond is what it used to be called starts. Winning team is determined by making any opponent submit or surrender. So it looks like a no pinfall type deal. No pinfall, no DQ.
Was that always part of it too?
I'm trying to remember way back that we're talking the Horsemen versus like Dusty, Nikita, and the Road Warriors. I want to say pinfalls were allowed then, but I could be wrong. So, as JR talks to Jon Moxley, the current AEW World Champion. We did see earlier tonight on Dynamite, Jake Snake Roberts showed up again during Cody's match with Ortiz of the Inner Circle, and in tow, Lance Archer. So it looks like Lance Archer will be the client of Jake the Snake.
Good start for Lance.
That should be interesting.
It's a good rub. It's a good person to have on your side.
And that could prove to be a very intriguing pairing there. I mean, Lance has got all that, that whole kill 'em all, everybody dies. Jake the Snake, one of the most dastardly individuals in the history of pro wrestling.
Dastardly is a strong word. I prefer methodical.
Oh, he's methodical.
Because he wasn't the guy who was wearing, some person's wife's face on a pair of tights. That was Rick Rude.
That's true. He was Rick Rude. But he had his moments when he was quite dastardly. Seeking the Cobra, Macho Man. Well, I don't think it was a real. Oh, it was a defanged, venomized.
It was real
Cobra, but he didn't have.
Well, what did he look like before he got there? I don't know.
Jake?
I don't know Jake Roberts before he got to WWF.
Jake? Oh, good Lord!
I just remember I saw this one match where he's wearing like these weird karate pant things.
That's what it was. Basically, hospital scrubs.
Yeah,
it was basically hospital scrubs and the pull-on boots. And if I remember correctly, there was a time when one of them had like duct tape around it, but he was almost always a heel. Whether it was with Devastation Incorporated, he, oh, wow. Okay. I got to stop that for a sec because I just got an alert, a little bit of breaking news. The NBA is suspending their season after tonight's games until further notice because of the coronavirus concerns. Wow.
Well, that's disappointing.
Here we go. That's on top of pretty much every conference tournament is now going to be in the NCAA is going to be held without fans. March Madness will be held without fans.
But I mean, this stuff in Europe happens all the time. Like, you don't just stop playing games.
Actually, Italy did. They shut down all sports.
Yeah, I mean, but Italy has a really bad outbreak. That's fine. But it's like, this stuff happens all the time. And as American fans, we're all acting like it's a big deal. I'm like, no, they do this all the time. Like, in some cases, some of these players grew up playing in front of nobody. So, especially like at the end, like these NCAA kids that were like, coaches that were like, I don't know about the fans. I'm like, if you go to a D2 game, most of the time, they don't have that many fans, but they can still be a top team in the nation.
Right. But
I know it takes away from
but your Dukes and your North Carolinas usually have packed houses.
Yeah. I mean, it helps.
Now they're going to play in front of basically nobody.
Hey, ball don't lie.
So
it's all about, it doesn't matter about the fans. You're here to win. You got to concentrate on the task at hand, right? I know it takes away from the atmosphere.
That's what we're getting at. So anyway, that's huge news. So, that's actually a good point for us to take a quick break. When we come back, as I said, we will hear from Jon Alba. He is a sports reporter for Spectrum News 13 in the Tampa, Orlando area. He is on the scene, has been keeping tabs on everything that's happening, and we'll hear about could WrestleMania end up canceled. We'll find out next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
All bask in his glory, for he is limitless.
This is the limitless Keith Lee, and you're now basking in the glory of sports guys talking wrestling.
For he is limitless. Oh, who is he? Who's that champ I see? Rhetorical question, but they all know the
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast only this week because of Texas baseball. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. You heard before the breaking news about the NBA suspending their season. We've had conference tournaments that have announced they're going to be doing the games without fans, limiting access. We're seeing it all over sports, all over entertainment. WrestleMania is in the crosshairs. It's down in Tampa, several cases of the COVID-19 virus in Florida, and so to help us take a look at what could happen there. Joining us on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, he is a sports reporter from Spectrum News 13 in the Tampa, Orlando area. He is also the co-host of the Living the Gimmick podcast, which you can find on all the major podcast providers. Jon Alba, you can follow him on Twitter at Jon Alba, Jonalba. Jon, how are you, man?
Just like Jessica, maybe not quite just like Jessica, but we get close enough.
That is fantastic. Comparing yourself to Jessica Alba.
It's like I've heard that a couple times over my life, But I'm doing fantastic. Things get a little crazy around here, as I know they certainly are by you. And it's just wild because, outside of even the pro wrestling realm and all that, we're seeing sporting events and public events just shut down all around the country. It's wild.
It is absolutely wild. We've had, of course, here in Austin, with South by Southwest canceled. The MotoGP, the Red Bull Grand Prix of Americas that they have at the Circuit of the Americas here in Austin. MotoGP, they've postponed their race till November. They're looking at the same thing with IndyCar coming, and we mentioned the Dell Technologies Match Play golf tournament that will happen in a couple weeks. So you're there on the ground in Orlando and Tampa. So I want to start with this. I'm looking on your Twitter timeline, and it was reported that the city of Tampa, the mayor, will meet on Thursday to discuss canceling or postponing, quote, major, end quote, events due to the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus. Let's put it out right now. How likely does this include WrestleMania?
Well, it certainly includes WrestleMania. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, WrestleMania not the only big event that is going on in the Tampa area this spring. The NCAA tournament is rolling through Tampa at Amalie Arena, the same arena where NXT TakeOver is supposed to be held. And it is certainly included in that discussion. I have no doubt about that. I think the question from a lot of people was, would WWE pull the trigger on WrestleMania and the WrestleMania events on its own jurisdiction? And I certainly don't see any way that would happen, especially given the company's track record in that sense. But this would be a scenario where it wouldn't have a choice. So it's an unprecedented scenario, quite frankly. You look at all the outside ramifications that come with this. These cities bring in Super Bowl style money with this event. We're talking $150+ million for the host cities of WrestleMania, not just in the event itself, but also in the tourism that comes with it, the independent events that go on around it, the restaurants, all that stuff. So we're in uncharted waters here.
We certainly are, and that is something to consider. With WrestleMania weekend, there's so many of the independent events, whether it's the GCW Collective or the WrestleCon events. Ring of Honor will do their Supercard of Honor in Lakeland. There's all these different events, and so if it does happen that WrestleMania is canceled, whether by WWE or by the city of Tampa, you could see a huge domino effect for all these other different events having to pull the plug on having the plug pulled on them as well. So
certainly.
So let's talk about when we're talking about the city of Tampa. I've got to imagine the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are also involved in that, since it is their stadium, Raymond James Stadium there in Tampa. Have you heard from anybody with the Buccaneers as to what their feeling is?
No, and again, it's kind of a situation where this is bigger than the individual teams, you know? It's a much larger issue. You know, right now here in the Orlando area, the Orlando Magic are going to be instituting that new NBA media policy, and the Orlando City SC MLS team are doing the same thing where there's not going to be any locker room access. So I think right now you're seeing these franchises react on a broader scale to what the leagues are determining and suggesting. And I think they don't really have any jurisdiction of their own, which very well may be the case for WWE. And real quick, I just want to kind of piggyback off your point on what you made about the independent talent. You know, I work in pro wrestling as well, and I've done managing in pro wrestling and commentary in pro wrestling for the last several years. And I've met so many great people who were looking forward to coming to Tampa and working shows this coming week, or this coming month rather. And they spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes more than that, to get down, because it's the biggest, highest paying weekend for independent talent in the year. And that may be taken away from them. So that's really unfortunate as well.
You're absolutely right. I've done commentary as well. I work several of the promotions here in Texas. In fact, there is a show scheduled as part of the collective called Texas Forever, with five of the great independent promotions based here in Texas, including Inspire Pro here in Austin. And so, yeah, if this happens, that means that event doesn't happen. Several events don't happen, and yeah, that's a lot of paydays that go by the wind for these independent wrestlers. Talking with Jon Alba, he is the sports reporter for Spectrum News 13 in the Orlando, Tampa area. Let's talk for a second. The situation in Florida right now: 19 cases. This is information from the Florida Department of Health. 19 cases confirmed in Florida. That includes one in Hillsborough County, where Tampa is located. Have you gotten a sense of the from the community about how they feel about the possibility of you talked about the NBA, talking about the Magic and the MLS, and then you got Tampa Bay Lightning. You also got the Rays getting ready to start their season. What is the feeling about attending these events? People that have season tickets. And wrestling fans in Tampa that could be making their way to Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see a lot of people are skeptical over the severity of this, and maybe don't necessarily understand that the reason these precautions are being taken is not necessarily because the imminent threat exists right now, but it's to prevent an imminent threat from occurring. And by so-called tarping off these events, if you will, now, and trying to limit the amount of public interaction, in turn, you are hoping that the virus does not spread and become bigger. And I think that's what a lot of people aren't necessarily understanding with this virus. I mean, this is me kind of talking from a newsroom standpoint and the conversations that we've had in how we go about covering this virus. It's that it's not so much, well, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases right now in the United States, and we need to hunker down and buy everything and all that and not touch each other in public. It's you're taking these precautions so that it doesn't become something like that, like we are seeing in other countries. And hopefully that a month from now we can come out of the woodworks and say, okay, we're good, and that's what happens. And I think some people understand that. And there are a lot of people who think it's some, media conspiracy or whatever it may be, and you take it for what it is. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion,
Yeah, I think, we're kind of seeing the same thing here in Texas. A lot of skepticism. Media reports have been here, there, and yonder, and it's been interesting. Let me ask you this. You mentioned the new policy among not only the NBA, but Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, and the NHL about, the restricting access to locker rooms. We also know there has been talk about empty arena games with the NBA, with, they're looking at it possibly with March Madness coming up. Do you see a scenario where WrestleMania or these events happen without fans? I personally don't, because again, that's part of the match, part of the wrestlers performing in the ring is hearing the crowd, how they react. But what is your sense of that?
Yeah, I think the hearing the crowd and reacting thing, while it's obviously a valid point, is probably the least pressing of the matters for a company like WWE. It's ultimately about the bottom line. And WrestleMania is one of your most expensive events to produce every year. And if you're not getting any return on that, especially with all this talk of potentially having WrestleMania on an over-the-top network this year, if you're not seeing any sort of return, it doesn't make it worthwhile to put on. We see, obviously, all of this stuff with the Saudi Arabia shows WWE does. And wherever you stand on them doing the shows in the first place, that's your opinion. But the bottom line, no pun intended here, is that they're making $40+ million off each of those shows. There is a significant return that in their mind justifies them doing these shows. If you do this in front of no fans and you're not getting a gate out of this because you're refunding all the tickets to all these people, you're taking a significant hit there. And WWE is a publicly traded company at the end of the day. And sure, Vince McMahon could sit on that conference call and say, hey, we missed our projected earnings because we were not able to bring in any money off of WrestleMania. But I don't think that exactly inspires a whole lot of confidence for a publicly traded company, especially one that has seen a slip in projected revenue already this year. So I would envision that we wouldn't see a cancellation per se of WrestleMania, but rather a postponement. And then at that point, do you have enough wherewithal to be able to fill a stadium again, or do you downsize it and scale it down, take your losses, still put on a show with fans in attendance, and go on from there?
Well, and that's something to consider, downscaling it, because again, well, you mentioned about postponing it. So let's just say, for sake of argument, that WWE decides, all right, we're going to take this scare seriously. We're going to postpone it. We'll hold it in and just pick a date, I guess. Pick a month, which could prove problematic with WWE's schedule already. And then, as you said, downscale it. Could you see it possibly happening in Amelia Arena there in Tampa, or could they move it to another city in Florida?
Who's to say? Like I said, we're in uncharted territory. We've never seen a situation like this. I would find it hard to believe WWE or any company would be able to fill a stadium on short notice. I just think that's kind of the nature of the beast. So I would imagine if they did postpone, it would be downscaled in some way. At least maybe not in a football stadium. But, these are things that normally take months and months, if not years of logistical planning. And to have to do it on such short notice, I just don't know if that's possible. It's a lot easier to book and fill an arena, obviously, than it is to fill a stadium. Now, I'll throw another scenario out there to you. We have heard in the past year or so, especially with what New Japan Pro Wrestling did with Wrestle Kingdom this year, the idea of splitting WrestleMania into 2 nights. Well, what if you decided to postpone WrestleMania, then split it into 2 nights over an arena show? So therefore, in theory, you could still draw about 40,000 fans and still see some return on that over 2 nights in an arena, rather than, maybe just do one long show in an arena with 20,000 fans.
That's also something to consider. I was lucky enough. When I was in Miami for the Super Bowl, I talked to the Guerrillas of Destiny. And they had that feeling, kind of it's if it's needed, if that's the way to do it, that's the way to do it. But they felt that Wrestle Kingdom having 2 nights kind of lost a little of the magic there, spreading it over 2 nights. I get why, and in fact, they've talked about it for the last several years, whether it gets downscaled or not. WrestleMania should cover 2 nights because of the length and the number of matches they want to have at WrestleMania. We're talking with Jon Alba from Spectrum Sports 13 in the Orlando, Tampa area, sports reporter there. Also the co-host of the Living the Gimmick podcast. So let's dive into a little more positive talk. We've finally gotten through the Saudi Arabia show. We've gotten through Elimination Chamber. As it stands now, you look at the build to WrestleMania. What's the highlight so far of what you expect to see in April, and what is maybe the one you least want to see?
Well, I think the positive you take away right now is they've done a really nice job with Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar is in all likelihood your main event. And the fans have organically invested themselves in Drew McIntyre. And we talked about it on this week's episode of Living the Gimmick. In fact, turn the clocks back 5 years ago. Imagine if WWE had built Roman Reigns as a babyface in the same way that they're doing it with McIntyre right now. We'd be talking about a completely different landscape. There's not really been anything corny about what Drew is doing. It's straightforward. He's a tough guy, and he's super cool, and people like him. On the contrast to that, I am a little concerned with what happens with this Goldberg and Roman Reigns match. I do worry about what kind of reaction that might spur. So maybe if they did an empty arena WrestleMania, maybe that might be the best case scenario in that regard. Because,
and my theory is that's why they decided to put the title on Goldberg, was to try to deflect the negative reaction to Roman Reigns. What's your take on that?
It's plausible, and a point that I brought up too on our show was I thought that them putting the title on Goldberg was also reflective of the idea that WWE would be putting WrestleMania, or at least part of WrestleMania, on an over-the-top network or a Fox, because the Goldberg name is a big marquee name still in pro wrestling, and that the idea of doing that would attract a casual viewer to maybe tune in to that, whereas the Fiend's name does not, which is not his own misdoing. It is just kind of the nature of the beast there. And I personally think if you were to make this switch and make this call for the match, I don't think Goldberg and Roman Reigns needed the title. I think there was a lot of luster in John Cena going for championship number 17 and the Fiend's wanting his genuine revenge for WrestleMania 30, which is a nice story that they're telling. And I think there's a little more attractiveness in that. John Cena going for the mythical record-breaking championship run. But that wasn't what they went with, so that is what it is.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned the Fiend and John Cena. That match is going to happen. Give me odds, and I haven't talked to my friends at BetOnline AG yet, but odds that the Fiend comes out a winner, because I'll be honest, I don't think they're that good. It's 50-50 at best, in my opinion.
I think that this is WWE's chance to hit the reset button on the Fiend after the damage that has been done to the Fiend character, where he had to no-sell all these finishers and all this. He lost to Goldberg. You got it out of the way. Now you hit the reset button and make him more vulnerable and actually able to wrestle matches, whereas he was doing all these crazy immune moves and no-sells to this point. So you hit the reset button. They're telling a nice story here where John Cena is the cause of the Fiend. He's the reason the Fiend exists because of that WrestleMania match. The business logic tells me John Cena returns, does the favor to Bray Wyatt in return. There's more investing in the Bray Wyatt character right now than there is in the John Cena character. And I would like to think that John Cena recognizes that as well. And that would be a good way to rehab the Fiend, especially to put him right back in that title picture should they want to do that afterwards. So I do think it's possible, more likely than not, that the Fiend does win. But would I be shocked? No, it's Bray Wyatt we're talking about here, and Bray Wyatt doesn't win big matches. So
that's true. Plus, as you said, if this is John Cena's final match, or at least as far as we know his final match, you're right. The tradition is you do the favors, and John Cena seems to be that type of guy that wants to hold to wrestling tradition, so he would want to do the favors.
And I don't even know if it's his final match per se, but he's not a full-time guy. He's not going to be wrestling the next month after it. So do something where you can use your name to endorse a talent of sorts and pay it forward. Look, there's still a lot of money in John Cena coming back and challenging for that championship to break the record again. And when they choose to tell that story and make that a big deal, they'll get a chance to, but they're not doing that right here.
Yeah.
So I see no reason that he should pick up a win here. It doesn't benefit anyone, really.
Talking with Jon Alba from Spectrum News 13 in Tampa, Orlando, sports reporter there. Follow him on Twitter at Jon Alba. John, before I let you go, let's talk for a second about Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. Apparently, the internet wrestling community was split and polar opposites on how Shayna Baszler was booked to win at Elimination Chamber. Now, I fall on the side of perfect booking. You want Shayna Baszler as the monster heel that can plow through everybody, so it's an actual threat to Becky. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I like the idea that Shayna eliminated everyone in the match. I did not think it was executed all that well. I think the way to do it is, in that circumstance, at least, is to have Shayna enter last. And after she enters, nobody has been eliminated. Then she goes on her absolute tear and takes everyone out one by one. I think that makes an absolute beast out of her. And that way you're also avoiding all that standing around. There was a lot of standing around in that match, just killing time. I also felt there was the problem that some of the competitors in it lacked credibility. And that didn't necessarily help Shayna Baszler in that sense. But I like the idea of her becoming the monster. As you said, she is the female Brock Lesnar. She poses a legitimate threat. I thought Becky Lynch's promo on Raw helped get over the fact that she is a legitimate threat. I would have liked to have seen a confrontation of sorts after Shayna Baszler had such a dominating performance, but there are still a few weeks left to this show. Potentially, who knows, but hopefully there's a few weeks left until this show, and we'll see what comes of it.
He is Jon Alba, sports reporter for Spectrum News 13 in the Orlando, Tampa area. Also co-host of the Living the Gimmick podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Jon Alba. John, thank you so much for giving us your time. All the best to you. If it's okay, I want to catch up with you maybe a week or two out, and if WrestleMania is still happening, maybe get a final report week of and see how things are shaping up in Tampa.
Let's do it again sometime. I'd love to.
Some interesting stuff there from John. Justin, let me get your take. So, as we talked about in the interview, the city of Tampa, I think that's Hillsborough County there in Florida, they are meeting tomorrow, Thursday, to discuss the possibility of canceling events. Of course, we're here in Austin, as you heard, cancellation South by Southwest. Today, the city of Houston declared a state of emergency. They canceled the rest of Rodeo Houston, which is a huge, huge rodeo event there in Houston.
The rest of it didn't even get started, did it?
No, I think they've had a few days.
People were all like, I didn't even get my turkey leg. I'm like, I guess you. That sucks.
Yeah, but the prospect that that WrestleMania may not happen in 3.5 weeks.
I don't know, man. I still see that happening regardless. I mean, if you have bought the tickets and you invested the time, the UK people are exempt from coming to the United States right now. They can still come.
Right, but
and people from Japan can still come too.
But basically all flights from Europe to the U.S. have been suspended for 30 days.
Except from those from the UK.
From the UK.
Yeah, and there's no word on Japan just yet.
Right.
So, technically speaking, those people who did purchase those type of tickets from the UK can still come.
Well, but will they come here and find no WrestleMania? Because it's not up to it's the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County that are looking at canceling major events.
Maybe.
Again, we just had it. The city of Austin. This wasn't South by Southwest's decision. This was the city of Austin's decision.
That's a different story because it couldn't be South by Southwest decisions for insurance purposes. Because had they canceled and they said that they were going to come out and cancel, their insurance policy does not cover coronavirus. Everything that they would have put in, unless it was the city, because if it wasn't for the city, they would have lost out on way more money.
It was the city. It was Mayor Adler, on behalf of the city of Austin, made the announcement.
Yes, Stu. I just said
So
that.
the city of Austin canceled it.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. The city of Tampa.
But South by Southwest would have never canceled it on their own because
that's-
they couldn't
Right.
because of insurance
Right.
purposes.
But that's what I'm saying. Could the city of Tampa be canceling WrestleMania? We've heard, yes. Look, we've already heard. WWE has said we're gonna do everything we can to make sure this event goes off, but it may be out of their hands.
I still don't see it happening. I don't see that. I don't see cancellation happening. There's too much investment. There's too much time put into this already, and it's wrestling. Yeah, I just don't see it happening.
It's wrestling. All right. I mean, look. You and I have many friends that go down there because it's not just WWE, not just WrestleMania, not just Hall of Fame. We're talking about all the different independent events. We're talking about WrestleCon. We're talking about GCW Collective. Now they have made a statement. They tweeted out a statement earlier that said basically they're going to have their event whether WrestleMania happens or not.
Yeah.
That includes the Texas Forever event that involves New Texas Pro Wrestling, Inspire Pro, Lucha Brutal, Sabotage, and Heavy Metal. But that's the collective. Could WrestleCon, continue on? If that happens, will people still go down there?
WrestleCon's going to be interesting because a lot of those people a big reason why you go to WrestleCon is to interact.
Yes.
With legends. And no offense, a lot of those guys, obviously we know not in the best of health, so I could see a lot of those people canceling.
Especially some of the older legends.
Oh, I definitely would. I mean, if I was some of those older guys, I mean, no offense, it might be a bit of a payday miss.
And
but
that's the advisory is that, this is really hitting, this virus is really hitting the elderly and those with poor health conditions. So, so you look at some of the older wrestling legends, like your Terry Funks, Magnum TA, some of the ones that we see at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, that's definitely something that is going to have to be looked at. It's, it's kind of we'll find out more tomorrow when the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County and the mayor get together. We'll hear more. But this is, like I said, we've already talked about both the men's and women's basketball tournaments. NCAA March Madness will have games without fans.
Yeah, but for how long? They said the first four for sure because that's in Dayton, Ohio. First four for sure. The first four playing games will not have fans.
What I read was the entire tournament.
I think that's a little far-fetched if it's the entire tournament, considering that it ends in April.
Well, it ends beginning of April. But if I'm not mistaken, here we go.
Then just delay the tournament then. It's not that hard to do.
Okay, here's the statement from NCAA President Mark Emmer. NCAA continues to assess the impact of COVID-19 in consultation with public health officials in our COVID-19 advisory panel. Based on their advice and my discussion with the NCAA Board of Governors, I have made the decision to conduct our upcoming championship events, including the Division I men's and women's basketball tournaments, with only essential staff and limited family attendance. That tells me all the way to the finals.
It doesn't sound
beginning of April.
It doesn't sound finite though.
There's
too much money to be. There's too much money to be lost. It doesn't sound finite.
Well, the games are going to happen.
Yeah, but
you can't see them live unless you're part of the university or part of the essential personnel. No, you and I can't go down to Toyota Center and watch the South Region.
Sure, finals. We could. We can go apply and use our little credential process to let us in. We'll be essential.
They're going to let
at that point.
Right. No, if we were fans though, we can't. We can't buy a ticket. So that's. Yeah, and by the way, the South Regional, the Elite 8 and Sweet 16 games for the South Region are in Toyota Center in Houston. Moody Coliseum's got Elite 8 and Sweet 16 games for the women's tournament in Dallas. This is, and then like we said, NBA suspending the season. Now, again, we may hit April and all this comes back. What do you think of the notion that Jon placed about the possibility of postponing WrestleMania and having it as a 2-night event down the road?
No, thank you.
I tend to agree.
I don't want 2 nights of WrestleMania. What's the point? It's not Wrestle Kingdom.
I
don't even like the 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and I wasn't crazy about that either. And that's as I mentioned to John when I talked to the Guerrillas of Destiny in Miami, they weren't that crazy about it because it felt like it lost a little bit of the magic.
It definitely does. I mean, do they play the Super Bowl in 2 legs? Do Americans even know what 2-leg contests are? Probably not, but our friends overseas definitely know what I'm talking about right now. Can 2 legs be exciting? Yes, but for professional wrestling, for an event like WrestleMania, look, it didn't work when they tried to put it in 3 places at one time. It definitely won't work if they try to have it 2 nights in a row at the same place. And just logistic reasons, I don't think you could run a stadium show twice like that.
It would have to be either it would have to scale it down to an arena. You couldn't do it in, forget Raymond James Stadium. If they want to go back to Tampa, it'll be in Amelia Arena. It'll have to be. So, a lot of questions right now.
Now
we're waiting for the information. We'll see.
I really want to talk about not so much like will they have it, because we really don't know. We're not doctors. We can't say. Right now, we can say that a lot of the signs are pointing to no. I know I have an event coming up in 2 weeks that's supposed to be at the Alamo Dome. It hasn't been canceled yet.
Right.
I'm not sure if it will be canceled. Or if it's going to be one of those events where they say, okay, less than 1,000 people can attend.
Right.
Because that's another thing that's happening.
And we've seen that a lot with different cities have set thresholds. If it's more than 250 or more than 1,000 or more than 500, it depends on the city. But, yeah, so we're looking at, and that's one of the things that could be happening in Tampa, where some of the independent events could carry on based on that threshold. But again, WWE can't hold their events because obviously they would go past that threshold. That's a that's a definite possibility. I mean, here's something so Tom Hanks, Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hanks, and his wife, Rita Wilson, they're in Australia. They were doing pre-production for an upcoming Elvis Presley movie. Tom Hanks in Australia, they've tested positive for COVID-19.
Well, Stu, a virus doesn't discriminate.
I know, but it's
race,
just one of those
color.
things. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, wow,
it's like cancer, man. It doesn't matter who you are.
Right. It doesn't matter who you are. That's kind of the point of that. It's hitting everybody.
Well, the thing is, though, it's going to hit different people different ways. And again, I'm not a doctor or anything. I haven't heard this affecting children so much, which is kind of interesting. I haven't heard a lot of reports of that. But obviously, from what I have read, it's going to either be flu-like symptoms, which can be anywhere from the mild cold to your typical flu season symptoms to anywhere to a real severe case of pneumonia where you'll have to end up in the hospital. So, again, it just really depends. Again, my question, though, is what do you do if you want to continue WrestleMania but you can't have fans? We've already saw this with AWA where they tried to have the no fan shows. Remember that?
The Rock and Mankind. It was what was that, halftime of a Super Bowl? They did an empty arena match?
Yeah, and that wasn't like the first time an empty arena match has ever been done.
We've seen them before.
But we're talking about a whole show.
Yeah, do you do a whole show?
And this show was like 7 hours, right?
And, oh, by the way, do you do it in the stadium or do you move it to Amelia Arena?
Because, you have the network. This is a good chance to get everybody on the network if you're WWE. Make them purchase it, right? If they want to watch WrestleMania, that's the only way that they can do it now.
Right, we usually see the bump in network subscriptions because you get that first 30 days for free.
Oh, of course.
Which includes WrestleMania. So everybody will get it now for the 30 days to get WrestleMania, and then some will drop it, afterwards. So,
what do you do? Do you have multiple events in multiple venues?
What do you mean as far as multiple events? Like what? Like, what do you mean?
like
You're talking about the independent events?
no, like WrestleMania. Like since you can't have everybody all at one stadium, and if you're trying to play within the rules, do just WWE decide to just rent out every possible venue and then just hold like matches at different venues across town just to meet the threshold of people that have tickets to WrestleMania as it is, and then just give refunds to people that weren't able to get in.
I mean, that's no. That seems a bit complicated because if
I agree, but I mean,
you're talking 16, 17 matches for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So are you saying having 2 or 3 matches in each in a different arena?
Basically WrestleMania 2, but within the Tampa Bay area, because it seems like that would be the only way to beat the any type of ban on like set number that could possibly be had in that county.
No, because in that case, why not just move it to Full Sail or move it? The NXT's doing their show at the Performance Center tonight. Just do it at the Performance Center. I mean, you're going to have to refund the vast majority of 90,000 tickets. It's if WrestleMania gets counted, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have just short of 90,000 people wanting refunds, no matter what you do.
Well, I mean, it's a scheduling aspect, and I mean, they figure all these pay-per-views in for their revenue, so the show's going to have to go on one way or another. And what, you think they're going to cancel another monthly pay-per-view just to run WrestleMania in its place?
I don't know what they will do. We've never had this before. This is a first, just like it's a first for every other sport and every other concert. And we've heard Coachella Music Festival has been postponed to October. I think
that's doing everybody a favor, but okay.
Well, and the funny thing is, if I saw the dates right, I think at least one of the weekends is the same weekend as the second weekend of ACL Music Festival here in Austin. So that'll be interesting.
I don't think maybe some, but not as many of those type of fans overlap as much as you think they would.
They may not. You're probably right. It's kind of like NASCAR and Formula One. You don't see too much.
But I mean, that event has also been canceled here in Austin. But then again, that's because it would have been a bulk of international people coming over.
Talking about MotoGP.
Yeah,
MotoGP. The Red Bull Grand Prix of Americas has been postponed to November because of that.
It's funny.
I know they're looking at IndyCar. They've also got Dell Match Play coming up in a couple weeks.
Do they?
As of right now,
I was going to say, didn't it get canceled last year?
No. Dell Technologies Match Play? No.
Yeah, there had to be a year that got canceled because of weather. Wasn't last year?
No, you're thinking Formula One.
No, thinking Match Play.
No, Dell Match Play's happened every year since they brought it here. I've been to every one of them.
I swear there was one that got canceled, man. There had to have been because we had really bad weather that year.
No, they've had great weather. What are you thinking? I've been to every one of them. I've covered every one of them.
That's golf.
Last year Tiger was here, which was interesting to watch. Oh no, the Inner Circle has beaten up on Cody and Dustin, and where's Paige? Oh, Kenny Omega's getting beat up. Oh no. So, anyway, here's another thing that's been happening. We've heard different colleges. The University of Texas will extend spring break for students by 1 week amid local and nationwide COVID-19 concerns. And we've heard that from Baylor, from UT San Antonio, where they'll extend spring break, and then when they come back, there'll be online classes only. So,
yeah, and I haven't really agreed with the way that most of these universities have handled this situation either. I understand that they're concerned, but I mean, they haven't given any proper thought to any of their international students, where those students are supposed to be going, to a lot of other students that don't have the financial funds just to leave. I'm sure there was people that weren't planning on leaving, that week.
Yeah.
So I can't say let me say this. I'm very embarrassed and very upset by the way that we have tried to prepare for this thing. As a whole, I have not been pleased.
Okay.
This is kind of like, wow, like this is it. This is the best we could do.
I have no comment on any of it. So I'm just waiting to hear. Oh, all right. Matt Jackson saving Hangman Page.
Yeah, I think that's that's probably the most important question. How do you feel? Should the event go on? Right now, the way that things are going, I'm going to say no. The event shouldn't go on.
Which event?
WrestleMania.
I lean towards that. Yeah. If it does seem like it's a lot of overreaction. However, if overreaction prevents the spread of this,
oh, definitely,
then I'm okay with it. I just saw that. So we were talking right before we came on that it was Utah Jazz and Oklahoma City Thunder. They were about to start a game, and the game got called off. Sent the teams to the locker rooms. Utah center Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus. That's why they stopped the game, which led to the NBA suspending the season. Look, there isn't a lot known about this virus. That I know. And I think until they get a grasp on this, until they can get a handle on how it's being spread, how fast it's being spread, how wide it's being spread.
Well, this is essentially our Spanish flu.
It is. And we've had this, we've had pandemics. The H1N1 virus back in 2009 was kind of similar, although I don't think it was quite so widespread.
But the reason I do mention Spanish flu is because it was widespread. And if you go back and you look at the times that the Spanish flu was spreading, there was this one instance right before World War I where people were in Philadelphia looking to see the soldiers off, and a lot of those people that were in that 200,000 crowd they said the day after that parade, every hospital bed was taken up in the city of Philadelphia. That's how sick, because of a mass gathering like that, that's how quickly it spread. And you have to remember that, while we're not doctors, coronavirus it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's viral. It's a virus. It's airborne. It can transmit through the slightest touch. That's why it's important to wash your hands, to stay sanitary.
Yes.
Try to stay as clean as possible.
Did you see the tweet from Braun Strowman?
It took him long enough.
Wash these hands.
I was like, no offense, but this is the same company that used the Iraq War to push a Hulk Hogan feud. Yeah, how did they not jump on this sooner?
Yeah.
Like, I had a video out there talking about washing hands like a week before that, and I'm just like, where is the t-shirt? I'm waiting for the t-shirt still. Everybody else is trying to capitalize off of this. You figure that WWE would be the first to have something about
ProWrestlingTees.com. Let's set it up. When we come back from this timeout, Ring of Honor's got a pay-per-view coming up this week in Las Vegas, and we will talk to Mark Haskins. He's going to go for the world title in Las Vegas. That's coming up next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
This is Ring of Honor superstar One Punch Shane Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
I don't dress the way you like, I don't look the way you like, but I fight the way I like. I don't walk the way you like.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast only this week. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. Ring of Honor has their 18th anniversary pay-per-view this Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Central. It'll be on Pay-Per-View, Fight TV, and Ring of Honor Honor Club, coming to you from Sam's Town Casino in Las Vegas.
Will they have fans?
We hope so. We'll see.
Half joking, half seriously there, unfortunately.
Believe me, I have that concern too.
Oh, Stu, before you jump into it, saw that thing about Rudy Gobert right now?
Yes.
They showed a video of him at the press conference talking about it, and then he got up and touched everything afterward.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, man,
crazy.
It's not a joke.
Anyway, the main event of that card, Roosh, the now two-time Ring of Honor World Champion, he just regained that title from PCO. Well, his first title defense will be against the gentleman joining us now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, one of the great Ring of Honor stars, Mark Haskins. Follow him on Twitter at @ThisIsHaskins. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, are you still in the UK, or have you made your way to Las Vegas?
No, I'm still UK based. Yeah, so I'm gonna be flying out at 4 p.m. tomorrow. I think I'll land about 8 p.m. Vegas time, and then I'm straight out the frying pan and into the fire as I've got Roosh the next night. So yeah, I'm coming in fast and furious, man, and it's a bit of a roller coaster, but it makes life entertaining.
It sure does. Now, where in the UK are you?
So I'm in a small little town called Malvern. Literally no one has ever heard of it, and that's kind of the way I like it, really. Like, I like to disappear to a quiet corner of the world when I'm not under bright lights and being thrown around a ring by men in their pants.
I understand. I come from a very small town here in Texas, so I get what you're saying. So let me ask you this. So you debuted in 2006. That was your first match. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, so I've been doing this gig a while.
You have, and that's one I wanted to ask you, because you're still only 31 years old. But is it hard to fathom the fact that you've been doing this for 14, almost 15 years?
I mean, it's pretty crazy, especially when I look back at like my career, and especially with a lot of these younger kids that are coming into the business nowadays. It's genuinely terrifying, because it makes you feel a lot older than 31 might initially sound, right? Like there's a young wrestler in the UK called Millie McKenzie. She's on shows now. She was only 3 years old when I started training to be a pro wrestler. So and now she's like a fully grown person on the same shows as. So it's pretty mental. The years add up quick, that's for sure.
I get what you're saying. I, of course, do broadcasting in other sports, and I see, for instance, I do high school football, American football, high school football here in Texas, and to see kids that are, that played in high school football and now they're in the NFL, playing for whoever, it's hard to fathom. It's like, hey, I knew them when they were just this, this ornery little, scrapper of a kid, in small town Texas or whatever. So I get what you're saying. When you got into wrestling, who was your biggest influence?
I don't know. I had quite a few across the years. I mean, I guess like one huge influence for me was it was actually a friend of mine. He suffered from cerebral palsy, but he was the one who got me involved in wrestling in the first place. I remember he brought around a VHS when I was only 9 years old, and I fell in love with it ever since then. So I guess kind of one of my biggest influences isn't anybody wrestling specific at all. It's somebody, the polar opposite of that. He was my best friend growing up, and I always felt like I wanted to chase his dream because I knew that he couldn't. So I was kind of taking that burden on for the both of us.
Yeah, I can imagine talking with Mark Haskins, Ring of Honor star. He's getting ready to challenge for the world title at the 18th Anniversary PPV in Las Vegas. Let me ask you, you mentioned about, when you're not throwing guys in tights around anything, when you are away from, when you're not wrestling or doing training or doing PR or whatever, when you just have time to yourself, what is it that you do that kind of gets you, kind of let you escape? Because, I know a lot of guys, a lot of wrestlers are gamers, and they're into anime, they're into this, that. Is there something that you dive into to kind of take your mind off of the ring?
When I'm not doing PR or training or wrestling, I'm usually asleep. So that's pretty much it. I mean, like, I'm a family man. I got 2 kids. My son Jack, he's 7. My daughter Lily, she's 4. So they're at this stage where they're lively. They want to play, and it's great to have a dad who's a pro wrestler, because as I've discovered, they might watch one of my matches, and if they see me getting beaten up, they'll get upset, and they're like, "No, that's my daddy. Leave him alone." But the second that I'm led on the floor, they'll just run over and double stomp the holy crap out of me. So, yeah, it's okay when they do it, but it's not okay when anybody else does it. So when I'm not getting beaten up by my kids or, any of the other hats I have to switch between on a day-to-day basis, I'm just resting and getting ready for the next day. I
understand. Do you follow other sports? I know some people, whether it's soccer or football or basketball or whatever, do you follow other sports? Is there one that you like to watch when you get a chance?
Not religiously. I'm a fan of boxing and MMA, so I might sort of like try and keep up to date with something like that. But a lot of the time, it's just trying to find new things to better myself. Like I love sort of personal development and finding new skills and learning new things and reading new books and all these kind of things, just to try and be the sort of the best version of myself really that I can be. So yeah, I don't follow sports teams or anything like that too much. I'm usually too busy trying to better myself in some other way.
Right. Is there something you've taken on recently, a new skill or something that you started looking at recently?
No.
Okay.
Nah, I've been working hard, man. I've had a lot of international flights, so I'm reading a few books. One at the moment I'm going through is Talk Like Ted, which is an interesting one, and then one that I've got lined up after that is The Rules of Thinking. Okay. So it's it should be pretty interesting. Like I'm very intrigued into sort of like the psychology of things and how the brain works.
Talking with Mark Haskins from Ring of Honor here on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Before we get into Ring of Honor, I know that you at least have been active, and I would suspect you're still active on the independent scene there in the UK. How important is that to you? How vital is that independent scene in the UK to you and to the wrestling scene overall?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, of course it's important to me. It was a place where I started out. It was a place that gave me my first few chances, and if it was the case that you could make a full-time living in the UK and make, the big money that you can make elsewhere in the world, then I feel like people wouldn't feel the need to have to relocate or travel elsewhere. We're very fortunate that the UK scene now is a very different place to what it was when I started out in 2006. You can make a full-time income now in the UK, and it's been amazing to be a part of that process and see how it's grown from being what it was into what it is now. And I hope it just continues to blossom and grow to everything that it could be.
You've been in Ring of Honor. You wrestled your first Ring of Honor match in 2017. You signed with the company in late 2018. Do you have like a highlight or a moment or two so far in Ring of Honor that just really stays with you, that you consider kind of a high moment in your career?
Madison Square Garden would definitely be one of those. I've been super fortunate over the past year. We got to wrestle in the Garden where was it, Supercard this time last year. That was such a cool experience, especially getting to be in the ring against Bully Ray as well, in that venue. So that was a awesome experience for me. Another cool thing is getting to go to Las Vegas. I'm there again this Friday, so I'm super pumped about that. It's one of my favorite places to travel to and to just kind of get out and explore, really. So I'm super pumped for that.
I will admit, I was there for G1 Supercard last year. That was a highlight for me, not only as a wrestling broadcaster, but as a sports broadcaster. That's to be able to cover a wrestling event in Madison Square Garden. I know how important it was for a lot of you guys. I talked to Shane Taylor a lot. I know how important it was to him and you guys, and it was important to me as well. And it was such a phenomenal moment to see that. Let's talk about your match this Friday. By the way, Ring of Honor 18th anniversary this Friday night. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You can get it on pay-per-view, Fight TV, Ring of Honor Honor Club. You'll be coming from Sam's Town Casino there in Las Vegas. You are facing Roosh, the now two-time Ring of Honor World Champion. What's your scouting report on Roosh?
Well, man, he's the bull, right? He likes to go in there. He likes to go, head down and full throttle. And it just so happens that that's how I love to wrestle. So I'm super excited for this weekend, man. It's great. It's really odd because it was this time last year. I think it was literally Roosh's second day in the company. We wrestled each other in Las Vegas, and here we are just a year on, and we're in the main event of a pay-per-view wrestling for the Ring of Honor Championship. It's mad to see how far we've come. It's mad to see that we had this match this time last year. We can make it a regular thing. Do you know what I mean? Make it an anniversary. Each year we just fight each other and see how much further we've come in that year.
I think I'd be okay with like a long series of matches with you two. You two seem to work
A best
really well.
of 5, but once every year.
Sure,
So,
why not?
Be a 5-year program.
Now, how concerned are you about La Facción Ingobernales? Because you know they're going to be lurking around with Dragon Lee and Kenny King and Amy Rose. You know they're going to be lurking around. Do you have a contingency plan for them?
Well, my wife's a bigger psychopath than all of them combined. So, if I need some help, there's only one person who I'm calling.
All right. Oh, there we go. You got to look to family, right?
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Before I let you go, you're also set to compete in the tournament to crown a new Ring of Honor Pure Champion. And this is a prestigious championship held by some of the best names that ever came through Ring of Honor. What are your thoughts on the possibility that you could obtain that title as well?
I am so excited about it, and especially excited at the thought of being a Ring of Honor World Champion in the Pure Championship title tournament. I'm super pumped. I'm dreaming big, and I'm seeing dollar signs. So I'm super excited about the next few months here in this company.
I tell you what, it is getting really exciting in Ring of Honor. I talk to Kerry Silkin every now and again. I know how excited he is. And I know, I can hear it in your voice how excited you are for what's coming up. And that will start this Friday. Ring of Honor's 18th anniversary. Can you believe Ring of Honor 18 years now in existence? How great is that Ring of Honor has been able to keep to a level that, they call themselves the best wrestling on the planet, and it's been hard to argue that. How significant is that Ring of Honor has been able to keep this momentum going for 18 years?
It's awesome, man, and it's been great to see them go from strength to strength. Do you know what I mean? It's they've had some ups and downs along the way, like any good story does, and I'm super excited about the direction that the company's heading in. There's been some big changes. There's been some huge changes behind the scenes. Right now, the feeling throughout the entire company, like there's genuinely not one person who I haven't spoken to whose goal isn't to make Ring of Honor the very best that they possibly can. Everybody's super pumped. Everybody's super excited. Everybody's got their heads down. They're willing to work hard. And when you have a roster of some of the very best wrestlers in the entire world, you can't help but feel that there are exciting times ahead. There's exciting matches to be had. And it's going to be an insane journey over the next couple of months, over the next year or so, and maybe even longer than that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to every step of that journey. He is Mark Haskins. Follow him on Twitter at @ThisIsHaskins. He will be challenging Roosh for the Ring of Honor World Championship this Friday at Ring of Honor 18th Anniversary. You can catch it on pay-per-view, Fight TV, or Honor Club at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central from Sam's Town Casino in Las Vegas. Mark, it's great to talk to you. Enjoyed the conversation. All the best to you. Safe travels to Las Vegas and back, and hope to connect with you again real soon.
Thank you, man. You too.
Really enjoyed Mark Haskins talking to him. What a great kid and fun guy to talk to. Before we started the interview, just as if Angel's hearing us, Ring of Honor posting on their website. Ring of Honor is mounting its 18th anniversary, Friday, March 13th, and past versus present, Saturday, March 14th shows this weekend in Las Vegas at Sam's Town Live Casino. Safety and the health of our fans, talent, and staff are always a top priority. We are actively following information regarding COVID-19, known as coronavirus. We're closely monitoring all information being made known by the government, CDC, and the World Health Organization to the public as the situation continues to develop. ROH cares by being proactive and taking the utmost safety precautions as recommended for all live events, and recommends that all fans take their own personal safety precautions as well. Additionally, fans are urged to contact help@rohwrestling.com if they have any concerns about their health or safety at an upcoming event, and ROH will work with them to provide solutions. As the situation continues to be monitored, any necessary changes to the event schedule and or resolutions will be provided expeditiously. So, let's hope that they can still have the show. Let's hope they can still have an audience.
I know, man, but with the way things are pointing right now...
You're right.
I mean, the NBA just canceling. I mean, that was a huge one because even the players came out and said, hey, we're not going to play with there's no fans. And then it turns out like they're not even going to play because players now have contracted the coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, you can't fight that person if they have the virus, because it's going to just spread to you eventually.
That's true. That's very true. Let's go over pay-per-view real quick. Assuming it happens, Jeff Cobb will take on a newcomer named Slex. They have high hopes for Slex, but hey, it's Jeff Cobb, one of the strongest men on the planet. At least one of the strongest men in wrestling.
I'm assuming that Slex will at least look good during this match?
Yeah, Jeff will make him look good. Bully Ray will face Eli Isom. Bully Ray has said if he loses, he will leave Ring of Honor. So I think a lot of people are going to go for Eli.
Is this the day? Is this the time it happens finally?
Something tells me no. I don't think so. Brody King, PCO from Villain Enterprises, taking on Alex Zane and Ray Horus.
Ooh, I don't know.
That'll be a fun match.
I go with PCO. And Brody.
Yeah, but that'll definitely be a lot of fun. We saw Alex Zane at GCW here.
Yeah,
he's been making waves on Ring of Honor Wrestling. So good to see him get his shot. And Ray Horus, one of the preeminent lucha libre, one of the preeminent luchadors out there today. In women's action, Nicole Savoy taking on Session Moth Martina. Should be a fun match. Dealer's Choice match. The winner will get a title shot of their choosing. Kenny King from La Facción Ingobernables, Dan Maff, Bateman, and Shane Taylor. Boy, that's a tough one to choose. I would say Kenny King just because he's underhanded. Otherwise, it's going to be either Dan Maff or Shane Taylor just because I don't think either one of them can be, I think Bateman and King will have a hard time with either one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, well, you would think Maff just because they were pushing him really hard the last couple of months, but Shane Taylor had been on a tear throughout his title run.
Yeah, former TV champion.
So when you drop a title like that, I mean, the next logical step is to go higher, especially after you had the run that he had, because he was pretty much unbeatable during his run.
He was. So I'm sure he wants that gold, or as you said, maybe higher. Maybe he wants that world title. So
yeah, that's why I'm thinking like, oh well, maybe this is the position. I was just thinking about when you played the intro that the Pretty Boy Killers ended up having some pretty nice individual careers so far.
I tell you what, they have both Keith Lee and Shane Taylor.
Doing it in different places.
And we knew them win.
Basically, yeah.
So
you just never know.
Two of our favorite guys. The Briscoes taking on Dalton Castle and Joe Henry.
I mean, the Briscoes aren't going to lose.
The Briscoes would never lose, but Castle and Henry are starting to click.
Yeah.
So,
but I just don't. I mean, they just re-signed the Briscoes not too long ago. Everybody, they're the ROH lifers.
They are the life. Yes, they are the lifers.
I just don't see them losing this match to guys that are already established. Yeah. Maybe if it was a younger tag team.
Maybe. Jay Lethal, Jonathan Gresham will defend the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles against Marty Scurll and Flip Gordon from Villain Enterprises. You wonder if Marty and Flip will have their eyes on the prize because Marty Scurll is going after the NWA World title at the Crockett Cup against Nick Aldis. Flip Gordon, he gets a shot at the Ring of Honor World title at Supercard of Honor in Lakeland against either Haskins or Roosh.
Yeah.
So you wonder if they can keep their focus on winning the tag titles and not think ahead.
Well, first off, cool for Flip Gordon after coming back from that knee injury that kind of decreased, kind of just killed all the momentum that he had built prior to all this. And now we're seeing him in big main events. Another guy that we saw around here a lot beforehand. So
fellow veteran.
Yeah, so I mean, really cool to see that he's getting put in these type of positions. And this does seem like a time that they could be poised to take the championships. I understand that Gresham and Lethal just had, they've been holding on to him for 3 months now? 4 months?
A little bit, yeah, 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
But it's like, well, this wouldn't be a bad time to let these guys have it just because obviously Marty Scurll is just so over.
Right.
And to have him do kind of like the Seth Rollins thing where it's like, okay, you know that the show is really focused around this guy. Even though he might not have the world title, he's holding some gold, and you know that this is just a placeholder until he gets another shot at it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way I would see it.
I think so, but something tells me Lethal and Gresham keep the titles. Then again, they may be looking past it to the pure title tournament. So we'll see. Dragon Lee defending the television championship against Bandito.
Man, that one's gonna be fun.
Oh man, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think he retains. I don't know what happened. Did the band? Well, I guess he got hurt, right? Bandito got hurt also.
Yeah, he's been dealing with some injuries, but he's back. So,
but I know everybody was really high on him, and obviously we saw the Roosh Bandito fights beforehand. I think that's going to be something else that plays factor later down the road. Have you been impressed with the fact that Roosh has been champion for so long now?
Yeah, and I think that's you heard Mark talking about setting up Ring of Honor for the future, for the months come, exciting things. I think that's one of them is Roosh becoming a major player in Ring of Honor.
But I'm really glad to see that they have taken a chance that I feel that I guess maybe it goes back to even when you were watching during the territory days. I can't recall too many legit foreign superstars being the champion of a company besides like Great Muta.
Yeah, definitely Muta. I would say, man, I'm racking my brain. Not really.
Yeah,
you don't see too many of them.
I mean, Alberto Del Rio, I guess, if you want to be on the fringe, I guess Mysterio.
Yeah,
but
Mysterio,
I mean, but not like this, where it's like this is the main guy, this is the only title in this company, and they're the ones that hold it, and it happens to be a guy who's from Mexico.
Well, and you basically have two brothers holding your two top singles titles.
Yeah,
with Roosh and Dragon Lee. So
yeah.
Speaking of Roosh, as you heard, Roosh defending against Mark Haskins for the world title. So that's Ring of Honor 18th anniversary this Friday. By the way, our friends at Fight TV have given us a code to give away. So, how do you win this code? It's real simple. Go to our Twitter account at SGTWATX. There will be make sure you follow us at SGTWATX, and you'll see the tweet at the top of the account pinned there, talking about this giveaway. All you got to do is like and retweet the tweet. Make sure you also follow Fight TV because they're good follow. Find out about all the different events that they're offering on their service. We will pick a winner Friday at noon Central. We'll let you know via direct message, send you the code, send you how to use it. You can enjoy Ring of Honor's 18th anniversary pay-per-view for free, thanks to our friends at Fight TV. Make sure you follow them at Fight TV.
I thought you were going to say the way to win the tickets was to wash your hands.
Please wash your hands. Yeah,
that helps.
When you're doing
helps
that,
a lot.
Please make sure your hands are clean.
And desanitize your phone while you're at it. You'd be surprised how dirty it is.
Yes, absolutely. Ring of Honor is also doing on Saturday. They've got this special event called Past versus Present, where they are taking current stars and former stars and pitting them among the.
And this is the one I'm hoping that really. The reason why I don't want it to get canceled, because I really want this event to take on, because I saw it on Twitter for months and months, and you heard it from not agents or people representing these wrestlers. They were like, no, we're going to have this. I'm in. I'm like, that's so cool.
I need to get a hold of Kerry Silkin because I know a lot of these guys work for him. So, for instance, Alex Shelley and Matt Seidel taking on Marty Scurll and Flip Gordon. You got Xavier taking on Jay Lethal. Brody King taking on Homicide.
Yeah.
Former Ring of Honor World Champion, speaking of which. Jonathan Gresham taking on Doug Williams. One of the best grapplers out of the UK. Here you go. Mark Briscoe takes on Jay Briscoe.
Now that's going to be cool.
Good Lord.
How many times do you get to see the brothers go at it?
Yeah, I hope the ring is still standing.
And which is the one that's the former ROH champion? Is that one Mark?
Jay.
Oh, Jay, right.
Jay is, yeah. Delirious Grizzly Redwood will take on Joe Hendry and Dalton Castle. Ray Horace Bandito taking on the Havana Pitbulls, former Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Ricky Reyes, you knew him as Cortez Castro in Lucha Underground.
Yeah,
one half of the Havana Pitbulls. Sumi Sakai taking on Nicole Savoy, and then John Walters taking on Mark Haskins. So that's Saturday, March 14th. At Sam's Town, and I believe that one is also available on. Let's see, I believe it's at least available on Honor Club, and I think it's on Fight TV as well. So yeah, Ring of Honor's past versus present. They got some great stuff coming up. They've got the tournament to crown a new pure champion. In fact, they have announced their what is it? Let me see if I can find it. They've announced all 16 competitors for that tournament. Jay Lethal was the last of the competitors they've announced. Here we go. So the tournament will consist of Doug Williams, Jonathan Gresham, Alex Shelley, Rocky Romero, Mark Haskins, Slex, Tracy Williams, Marty Scurll, Fred Yehai, Yuji Nagata, Joe Hendry, Dalton Castle, Ren Narita, Josh Woods, Tony Deppen, and Jay Lethal. 16 men. One will become the new Ring of Honor Pure Champion.
This has probably been like the toughest episode to do because we're talking about all these things and my heart's not even into it because I'm like, I don't even know if this is actually going to take place, man.
I know. Well, I mean, in fact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they've canceled the rest of the New Japan Cup tour, so now they're having no shows through the 22nd, I believe,
of April,
of March.
Okay, March.
They had already canceled everything up through the 15th, so now they've canceled the rest of that tournament.
Makes sense.
They've got Dontaku coming up soon, but they haven't had shows in 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
So,
but it's understandable because obviously it hit there first around that area. Obviously,
right.
China, not too far from mainland Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is like so many people have already said, uncharted territory.
It is,
and there's no one right way to handle it. Because there hasn't ever been a right way to handle it, and
we haven't had something to handle like this,
not in quite a while, and nothing that when we were alive to remember at least.
Yeah, like I said, we'll keep you posted as best we can on any developments regarding wrestling events and everything. So, when we come back from this timeout, we'll let you know what's happening in independent wrestling around the area. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Hey, this is Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, not on the horn. We're preempted because of Texas baseball. Good Lord, just got another alert, breaking news. University of Texas announces it will not allow fans at home events through March 22nd. So that's
understandable.
Baseball, softball, not volleyball.
I was going to say, well, basketball's already covered. I mean, nobody shows up to those things.
Well, and then think a couple weeks later, you got to think about Texas relays.
Oh yeah, that's been the
huge one.
That's been the big concern. A lot of people are like, are they going to cancel Texas relays? And I'm like, I hope they don't, because I love Texas relays.
Yeah.
But
one of the premier track and field events in the country.
Exactly. And I would hate for them to cancel it, but I mean, vendors are already losing enough money as it is in this town. South by Southwest really hurting a lot of businesses. Yeah. And I mean, people that work for South by Southwest year round. I mean, there was a lot of people that got let go.
Yeah. 1/3 of their full-time staff got laid off.
I was like, I couldn't believe that this, essentially is 2 weeks now, right? So well, I mean, it's the only thing they put on, so it basically dominates their entire year. That's their income.
We mentioned this last week. I can tell you that there are a lot of events that are happening. A lot of events trying to keep that vibe going from South by Southwest getting canceled. That includes our sister station, Coke FM, doing their rooftop showcase. It will be next Monday at the Blind Pig Pub on 6th Street on East 6th. Colby Cooper, Mickey and the Motor Cars, Giovanni and the Hired Guns, Jonathan Terrell, Robin Shane, Love and Chaos, among more acts. So check that out. I believe that's a free showcase at the Blind Pig Pub, rooftop showcase from our friends. Our sister station, Coke FM, Rita Ballou and Eric Rains and the gang there.
I just try to be more vigilant, like how I'm going out. Just always trying to make sure I wash my hands and try not to touch my face.
But go out and support these businesses. They need your help.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing right now. Like I went to Green Mesquite and ate, And I don't always go to Green Mesquite, but I was in the neighborhood. I'm like, hey, they're probably one of those businesses that is affected by no South by Southwest people coming. So,
that's true.
Throw them an extra couple of dollars.
That's true.
I don't got a lot to throw around, but, make an extra stop somewhere that you don't normally go.
I agree. We've got some independent wrestling happening around the area. We're going to let you know.
Do we?
I think we do.
We hope.
We're going to go with it.
We
because as of right now, they're going. That includes DFW All Pro Wrestling presents All on the Line 2 Friday at the American Legion Post 655 in Halton City. Bell time 7:30 p.m. Erica Torres, Fly Def, Miranda Gordy, Nate Collins, and more. That's DFW All Pro Wrestling Friday night in Halton City. Branded Outlaw Wrestling presents Night of the All-Stars Saturday at the Woodlawn Gym in San Antonio. Bell time 7 p.m. Barrett Brown, Moonshine Mantel, Scott Summers, Richie Garcia, and more. That's Branded Outlaw Wrestling Saturday night in San Antonio. And then Laredo Wrestling Alliance presents Hasta La Victoria Siempre. Not bad for
that was good, Stu. That was good. That was really good.
Saturday at the Volleyball Performance Academy in Laredo. Bell time 7 p.m. Joey Ryan will be there. Ultimo Guerrero, Big Daddy Yum Yum, Jordan Lennox, and more. That's Laredo Wrestling Alliance Saturday in Laredo. And that's looking at independent wrestling around the area. Make sure you go out to see a card. Make sure you support independent wrestling.
And to think you took Russian.
Yeah, not bad for a poor white boy from East Texas that took Russian. There's a lot of concern about COVID-19, about what's going to happen, events canceled, altered.
Hey, I'm a freelancer. I know what it feels like. I'm hoping the events that I have don't get canceled, or if they do get altered, that I'm still part of like the integral crew that has to be there. I'm assuming for most of the ones that I'm doing, I would be, but you just never know how they want to go about it.
That's true. That's true.
I mean,
you imagine, like our colleague Craig Way, who's in Kansas City tonight and through the rest of the week to call the Big 12 men's basketball tournament. Tip off tomorrow. So.
Yeah, I feel I would definitely be concerned for all those that are traveling, like our friend Alex. Del Barrio's traveling for CBS Network, and he's got games to cover, but he's going to be in an empty arena calling a game.
Yeah, it's going to be the next few days. I think are going to be very telling as far as how things will look for the near future. I mean, we know that we hope that eventually things will get back to normal. But for now, this is kind of the new normal. So all we can say is please be careful. Please wash your hands. Please use sanitizer.
I was going to say the most important thing is if you're sick and you know you're sick, just stay home. I know it's not easy to say that because
that's right.
Unfortunately,
stay home. Call your doctor. Don't go to the hospital. Call your doctor.
Yeah.
And talk to him or her. I know several. If you've got an insurance plan, several insurance plans have a telehealth or telemedicine option where you can.
Yeah, mine got that now.
Yeah, so.
I'm not saying that I'm doing any better than anybody else because I have health insurance.
Option.
That's for sure.
Use that option. So, it'll be an interesting.
I hope I don't have to though.
Yeah, I hope we don't. I hope we don't have to. Hope we
that's what I was going to ask you, Stu.
Yes.
And I wanted to make sure I got to ask you on air.
Yes.
What do we do if there's no pro wrestling? Like, if we have nothing to talk about, do we, theoretically speaking, that could happen. What about if every possible event that we would cover is not happening, maybe not next week, but the week after? Because there's a strong possibility, right?
I think that's kind of like everything else. I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out if we come to that.
I was like, do we have a best of episode? Do we just watch
I'm sure we can come up with some best ofs.
Do we watch WrestleMania 1 and just have like a watch party? And we're going to watch WrestleMania 1 and we're going to sit through the whole thing?
Maybe that's it. Maybe I tell you what. So let's put this out there. So tweet at us at SGTWATX. If for some reason we have no live pro wrestling to talk about, and as of right now, at least the weekly shows are still happening. But if we have no live pro wrestling to talk about, suggest a pay-per-view. Now, understand, I'm a bit older than most of you, so I remember when pay-per-views started, like as in the first Starrcade, in the first WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But if you have a favorite pay-per-view that you'd like for us to maybe do kind of a side commentary on, tweet at us at SGTW Let us know which one that is. So,
I guess it could be anything on the network, right? Basically.
Well, or we may be able to find some other. If you have something that's not on the network, give us a link. Or
there you go.
Tell us how we can get a hold of it. So.
Because I know Roy, what's his name? Roy Lucifer or whatever his last name is. He does some great work, like archiving all this stuff from Mike Tenay on YouTube. So I'm just all like, he had like a whole year of 1992 Lucha Libre.
And maybe that's what we do is start hitting up some of the historians, some of the people we've met through the Hall of Fame, and maybe hit up people like Mike Tenay and see if maybe Tony Schiavone will be available.
Tenay's always been one I wanted to speak to because he's like the original professor of like professional wrestling. One of those guys that, he already knew about Lucha Libre before it was even a thing here.
Yeah. So that'll do it for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are also preempted next week because of Texas baseball, at least as of now, if it doesn't get canceled or whatever. But as of now, Texas baseball next Wednesday night, so we'll be preempted. We will be back on the Horn Airwaves on March 25th. You can follow Justin the Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. Follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. Follow the station on Twitter at The Horn ATX. You can find the show on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day. On the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns, we are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central on The Horn, or catch us anytime by going to hornfm.com and click on the On Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. Our thanks to Jon Alba and Mark Haskins for joining us, and our thanks to you for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. For Justin, I'm Stu. We will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night.